Hey, Jerrod, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Jerrod Edson. I'm a novelist from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I grew up on the East Coast. I have my sixth novel just came out because I grew up in a city called St. John, New Brunswick on the Atlantic Ocean. My first five novels were about that, about the city, um, based in reality. The sixth novel, the one that just came out 2 months ago, is called The Boulevard. It's my first work of speculative fiction, so I'm kind of wandering into new territory.
Love that. I would love if you could tell us more about what your books are about.
Sure. So, like I said, the first six are based in reality. It's about the poorer ends of people living in St. John, New Brunswick. A lot of drinking and drugs and crime and all that fun stuff. This one, the Boulevard, is completely detached from it. It's about, again, it's speculative fiction, so be warned. It's about God is paying a visit to hell for the first time, and Satan is kind of in a bind because he has built parts of hell in the image of heaven, and now he's got to figure out if he wants to destroy it or not to face God's wrath. So it's dark humor. It's not as serious as that sounds, but it's a lot of fun.
Love it. What inspired you to write your books?
Um, all of my books. That's a tough question. Wow, that's a big question. I've been writing ever since I was 17. I'm 49 now. I started writing in grade 12. Back then, it was for whatever reason, I signed up for grade 12 math and I didn't commit myself and I was doing terribly at it about 2 months in. So I asked my teacher, if I show up to class, can we just wipe out this mark and it doesn't mess up my whole GPA? So she said, no problem. So I showed up. There were 80-minute classes and I got bored and I started doodling. You know how you kind of doodle with your left hand and started writing a story. And it just didn't stop from there. It's been 30 years and it's kind of more of addiction than anything. Um, yeah, yeah, it's more of an addiction.
Love it. When writing your books, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your books are for?
I selfishly I write for me. I just want to write what I want to write. I just want to tell stories. I don't really have anyone in mind in particular. I know that I've got two young daughters and they're not allowed to read my stuff yet, so definitely not for them. Um, no, I think the best way to do it is just to write what I want to write and tell the stories I want to tell. And the audience is kind of out of my control. There are people that aren't going to read me, and there are people who do read me and like me. So, no, I can't really control that.
Love that. And I know you touched on this about how long you've been writing. What made you really sit down and start?
Like writing full-on novels. Well, right after high school, I didn't go to university right away. I took off out west. On the East Coast, there was not a lot of work in the early '90s if you were, going to try to find a job and if you weren't going to school right away. So I took off out to Banff, Alberta, Canada, and Waterton Lakes, and Glacier National Park, Montana, and lived out there for a couple of years off and on, and just kind of sowing some oats and growing up a little bit. And I kept writing all that time. I mean, it was a party zone, and I was 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, and doing a lot of drinking and you know having some fun, but I kept writing. I bought a typewriter when I was out there, and a few years into it, I realized that I wanted to do this. So I was smart enough to recognize I needed some help, some formal training. So I went to a university in Ottawa, got my degree in English literature and history, and I was published in my second year with a very small press on the East Coast, and just haven't stopped.
That's amazing. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Well, like I said, I've got young girls, and I'm a teacher as well. Any most novelists out there don't make a living writing books. I'm not in it for the money. So I have a full-time job. I usually write when I'm in a new novel. It was last year was the last time I wrote a new one, and I'm up at about 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I get a solid hour and a half in each day. And yeah, I keep a something I've done. I've got two works in like long novels that are sitting in binders right now, and I write with I use a log on my like a writing log on my phone, just in my notes on my phone. So I say, August 22nd, 3 pages, August 23rd, 4 pages, and I tally up each month how much I do, and it keeps me going and getting that push to get it done. So it's usually early in the mornings, and then once I'm getting to the few final months of getting it finished, I'll really get up early, like 4 o'clock, and see if I can get in 2 or 3 hours before work just to get it done.
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
A good story. um, I've got my own. Luckily, I've got my own space to write. I have my own office. I can come in and close the door, and it's worked. So I've got bookshelves. I just need some. I just need quiet, and that's why early morning is the best. Everybody's asleep. The world hasn't woken up yet. It's totally quiet, and that's the best. I just need quiet. Yeah.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
Oh wow. Coffee for sure for drink because it's in the morning. I don't really snack that much, when I'm writing. That's really I never thought of that before. I really don't eat anything when I'm working. Yeah, that's weird. That's an interest. I've never been asked that before. I'm gonna have to get some chips or something to have a more interesting answer.
Love it. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I'm a massive Hemingway nerd. I've loved him forever. So I like books that are I enjoy books that are easy to read, like simply written books. That's the kind of stuff I like to write. And Hemingway for me does it better than anyone else. But I just read No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, and I loved it. Completely different. I never read him before. I'm reading what is it? Shoeless Joe about the Field of Dreams, W.P. Kinsella. So that's not based in reality. I just like books that take me away, like anybody does, right? Something that the first few pages you're just in it, you're in that world. So any book that sucks me in, that's exactly the kind of book I like to read.
Love it. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Hemingway. There's a writer. He lives in New Brunswick, my home province. His name is David Adams Richards. He's as good as it gets in Canada. He's won every award there is to win. He's won the Giller, the Governor General's, you name it, he's won it. So he was my big inspiration because he was a real writer that I could reach out to. I wrote him way back in the early '90s when we didn't have phones or texts, and I wrote him a letter in St. John, and he wrote back to me, and that just blew me away. I still have got the letter still, right? They're from almost 30 years ago. So he really inspired me, and I've since become friends with him, which is really cool, right? I've hung out with him a couple times, and yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, David Adams Richards.
Love that. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
This is going to sound crazy, but I wasn't a big reader growing up. I really wasn't. I didn't get into like I said, when I was in high school, I was a bit of a fool. I was a hockey player and drank a lot and did a lot of stupid things, and it wasn't really focused on academics or reading. It wasn't until I got Hemingway where I just got hooked on literature, and then when I went to university, of course, I learned a lot more. Was introduced to a lot more writers, but I don't really have a book from a kid because I really didn't read much. I know that's a crazy answer, but I'm trying to be honest.
I love it. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
I'm not, I was once asked in an interview years ago. The writer was or the interview was a bit snobby, and he said, "What's your popcorn fiction?" And I thought that was kind of a snobby question. Um, so I said, "Well, my popcorn fiction, like, what do you mean? What I like to read?" And he said, "Well, what do you like to read in your spare time, not your serious reading?" And I couldn't differentiate between the two, but there are the whole spectrum. Hemingway's not bringing anything else out, so I have no hope there. But Richards, when he brings a new book out, I buy it right away. I'm a big like I like the storytellers. I like Ken Follett. I like Frederick Forsyth. I love him, thriller writer. He just retired from writing, so he won't be bringing anything else out. Um, yeah, those are really the writers. Oh, I love Jonathan Franzen. I just I know his books are gigantic, but they just wow, they just suck you right in. His characters are so real. So anytime Jonathan Franzen has a new novel out, I buy it right away.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
How do you mean? Sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
They're
Sorry.
tr No, totally. So if they're just starting to get back into reading, what advice would you have for them?
Okay. Don't finish a book if you don't like it, if you're not enjoying it. I have lots of friends that say, "Oh, I read a book to the end no matter what," and I don't. I'll read the first few chapters, and if I'm there, I'm there, and I'm in it to the end. But reading is supposed to be for fun, right? I mean, you can watch a TV show and you flip the channel very easily. It's no different than closing a book. So I would say go find what you like, and if you don't like something, don't be afraid to put it down and find something else.
Love that. On the other side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Don't do it. um, Believe in yourself, and just do it. I mean, just do it. Again, it was a couple years ago. Written a lot of manuscripts, but I was having a hard time getting motivated to get through a novel. It's a very big. It's hard mentally to be focused on that for months at a time. And by doing, like I said, the log, it kind of I wanted to keep the list going. So I think basically just stick to it. Just stick to it. And the other thing. Which is a Hemingway thing. I don't know if I can swear or not, but you can edit that out if you have to. But his best quote is every writer needs a built-in shock-proof shit detector. And what that means essentially is you have to understand where you need to improve. A lot of writers, when they start out, and I was the same way when I was a kid, you write something and you think it's wonderful, right? And then you get your friends saying, "Oh, it's amazing," and you have no idea why it's being rejected. So I think you have to learn how to improve your own work. And I'm constantly rewriting things and seeing how things can improve. So you have to be aware that you're not going to write a bestseller on your first draft at least.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I'm a writer. Yeah. I don't really talk about it. I don't hang out with other writers. I have a lot of writers that I know and I communicate with. But I don't hang out with other writers. The teachers at school, my colleagues, none of them are writers, and I don't talk about it a lot. I'm here. I am blabbering on your podcast, but I'm really quite humble when it comes to writing. I get sweaty if people ask me about it, even still. I think it takes an ego in a good sense, and I just don't really have that. So when people discover that I'm a writer, they go get my books and they can't believe it's me.
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
No. This has been great. Yeah, no, I think I've said enough.
Love it. So, where's the best place readers can find your books? I know some love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jerrod Edson. My books are sold wherever books are sold online. Amazon in the US, Amazon Canada, Amazon UK. I'm pretty sure I'm on Barnes and Noble. In Canada, that is indigo.ca. You can also buy direct from the publisher with galleonbooks.ca. So anywhere you can find me online. Signed copies. If anyone ever reaches out to me on Twitter or something, I've got copies of my own that I can always, and I've done it lots. Give me your address and e-transfer for the book, and I'll send it your way.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way, everyone can find you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Courtney.